This video is brought to you by Microdyne Computer Services. Okay, let's get right into the show. User interfaces are rarely flawed by accident. What we commonly call dark patterns, now formally classified as deceptive designs, are highly calculated architectures. They are engineered by behavioral scientists and interface designers to exploit predictable vulnerabilities in human cognition. These architectures weaponize specific mental shortcuts, known as heuristics, intentionally bypassing your rational decision-making processes. This diagram illustrates how systems exploit our status quo bias. Humans have an innate preference for maintaining their current state of affairs. When faced with complex choices, we default to the pre-selected option, assuming the path of least resistance, represented here at the bottom of the gravity well, is optimal or protective. Companies use this inertia to maximize data extraction. The same logic applies to loss aversion. The psychological pain of a loss is felt twice as intensely as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. Tactics like confirm shaming frame a simple opt-out as a severe loss of functionality or security, tipping your perceived risk so heavily that you comply simply to avoid future regret. The ultimate objective of engineering these psychological exploits is corporate extraction. The interface is meticulously crafted to prioritize commercial interests over user autonomy. A third cognitive exploit is decision avoidance. By presenting excessive, legalistic, or overly complex options, the system induces choice overload, prompting the user to select the path of least resistance. You encounter this daily on the web, when a massive, brightly colored Accept All button completely visually eclipses a tiny, grayed-out Manage Settings link. While these deceptive tactics originated on the web, they have now evolved to define the core architecture of Microsoft Windows 11. To understand the depth of this integration, we have to look beneath the browser and into the local machine itself. Windows 11 shifts the onboarding process off the local drive and into the cloud, using the setup phase to pre-configure defaults for tracking, telemetry, and mandatory synchronization. When these patterns move into the operating system, they define the space where all other software exists. The interface controls the user's interaction with their own files and their own hardware. Consider the Windows 11 out-of-box experience, or OOBE. During initial setup, the installation flow deliberately conceals the pathways needed to create a traditional offline local user account. This is a forced action dark pattern. It is designed to mandate online Microsoft account onboarding before you are permitted to use the machine you purchased. IT administrators and power users have engaged in a long cat-and-mouse game with Microsoft, constantly discovering command line workarounds to force the installation to proceed offline. This diagram shows how Microsoft responds. Legacy commands like OOB bypass NRO and start mscxh.localonly have been explicitly blocked in recent system builds like 26100 and 26200. Forcing an online account establishes a persistent, hardware-linked cloud identity, effectively stripping your anonymity before the desktop ever loads. Once you reach the desktop, Windows 11 activates automatic OneDrive synchronization for critical local directories, including your desktop, documents, and pictures. This silent synchronization structurally transitions your private local workspace into a dependent cloud container without ever presenting a neutral consent dialog. This animation illustrates the resulting storage trap. As users continue saving files locally, they remain unaware their data is being uploaded until the cumulative volume breaches OneDrive's free 5 GB limit. Once that breach occurs, the desktop interface initiates persistent, high-frequency nagging notifications. These system-level warnings interrupt your workflow to push upgraded subscription packages. If a user attempts to stop this process by disabling cloud synchronization, they run into the file extraction trap. The operating system fails to gracefully sever the connection. Disabling the sync often removes the files from your local directories entirely, replacing them with virtual placeholders that trap your actual data in the cloud. The architecture effectively holds your local data hostage to enforce the continuity of a cloud service you never explicitly requested. This interference extends directly into Windows Search, positioning the desktop taskbar as the ultimate vehicle for overriding user control. Power users frequently navigate the settings menu to configure an explicit default web browser, like Chrome or Firefox, along with a preferred search engine. Yet the desktop taskbar search actively ignores these explicit choices. The operating system forces all taskbar web queries through Bing and opens the results exclusively in Microsoft Edge. Providing a default apps settings menu is merely an illusion of choice if the operating system's primary search tool is hard-coded to bypass those exact settings. To see how deliberate these restrictions are, we can look at the European Economic Area, which operates under the regulatory framework of the Digital Markets Act, or DMA. This regulation forces a direct contrast between the rigid, locked-down global Windows 11 builds and the compliant builds distributed in Europe. In the European DMA compliant builds, the architectural dark patterns we just examined are largely disabled. Under the DMA, Microsoft Edge can be natively uninstalled through the settings menu, just like any standard application. This schematic highlights the difference. While the global version keeps Edge and Bing locked in place, the European version allows Bing to be completely decoupled from the system search experience. The existence of this European build proves that the telemetry lock-in is a deliberate corporate policy choice, not a technical requirement for the operating system to function. Microsoft gates this regional freedom at the codebase level, actively restricting users outside of Europe. The behavior is dictated by a specific regional policy file, titled Integrated Services Region Policy Set.json. This diagram shows the specific mechanism, the device region registry keys. Changing this Boolean switch toggles DMA compliance and instantly unlocks the restricted system icons. The migration of deceptive design from the web to the system layer changes how we manage computers. Preserving control now requires IT professionals to recognize where behavioral psychology meets software architecture. This video is brought to you by Microdyne Computer Services. With 30 years in IT, Dan Duick is a huge advocate for the elderly and our more vulnerable population, and provides education and help in his local area where he is able, alongside his computer work, more endpoint security for home users, cybersecurity. On this channel, you will find videos on keeping yourself safe and educational information for all ages. Whether you are a seasoned professional into computer hardware architecture and design, or just starting out in IT, there is a little something for everyone. If you enjoy this content, please consider giving it a like and subscribe. We're new to the YouTube thing, and the AI is temporary. But for now, we understand AI can make mistakes, and all information is carefully vetted and redone if needed to ensure accuracy. If you have any questions, comments, or something you would like to see here, post in the comments below. If within our ability, we will do our best. As always, thank you so much for watching.